This question has elapsed. We now come to the third oral question. Lord Thomas of Gresford.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name in the order paper.
It's all right. My Lords, some EU member states operate on the fundamental principle that they cannot extradite their citizens outside of the EU. We have ensured in our new arrangements that there is a path to justice in each case, for example, by requiring a member state that refuses to refer the case to its own prosecuting authorities.
I thank the Minister for her reply. We all know about the difficulties with the United States in the tragic Harry Dunn case, where despite the pleas of the Foreign Secretary, they refused to extradite an American lady for serious offences committed on British soil. Is it now the same with Europe? What differences are there between our arrangements today with the 27 EU states in our new status as a third country, so far as they're concerned, and our long-time arrangements with the USA?
Well, I think the fundamental difference between then and now is the additional safeguards that are built into the proceedings, which actually, in my view, make it a more effective set of arrangements, and also the notion of proportionality, which is crucial for both accused and victim.
Lord Morris of Aberavon.
My Lords, the Home Secretary claims that Brexit makes us safer. Is the sharp decrease in extradition cases at Westminster Magistrates Court from about 10 cases a day to about 1 a direct result of losing fast access to the European crime DNA databases? Does this reflect the position nationally?
Well, we are on day 14 of the new arrangements. It's probably a bit difficult to give reliable data at this point. But in terms of DNA and fingerprints, the agreement allows UK law enforcement to continue to share DNA and fingerprints. So I'm slightly confused by the premise of the Noble Lord's question.
Lord Walney.
Noble Lady, the Minister set out what are the extra safeguards to which she referred and how will they work? How does she envisage they will work in practice?
Well, the additional safeguards beyond those in the European Arrest Warrant Framework Decision, which make clear that a person can't be surrendered if their fundamental rights are at risk, and those fundamental rights might include things like political views, sexual orientation, race and religion, if extradition would be disproportionate, or if they're likely to face long periods of pre-trial detention.
Lord Rayburn.
My Lord, so the late lamented European arrest warrant certainly brought benefits in terms of cross-border justice, but there is a presumption that the rule of law is the same in all EU states, which it is not. So could my noble friend look at political interference and corruption in any extradition or asylum case, and in particular in the case of Alexandru Ananescu, who is a German national fighting extradition to Romania under some very dubious circumstances?
Well, my noble friend outlines really the answer to the previous questions, a question which is about extradition for political reasons, and my lords, that is not allowed under our arrangements.
Lord Paddock.
My Lord, what assessment has the government made of the additional cost of trials of those wanted in the UK having to take place in the accused's home country? And to what extent will that be a consideration in deciding whether to pursue the prosecution?
Well, in terms, as I said to the noble Lord, Lord Morris of Aberavon, it's probably quite early to say what those additional costs would be, but the decision on whether to pursue a trial would be based on would not be based on costs, but would be based on the likelihood of that trial being successful. successful either for the accused or indeed for the victim.
Lord Moylan.
My Lords, many people felt that the European arrest warrant offered insufficient safeguards for the rights of those accused of crimes overseas. Can my noble friend the Minister assure us that the replacement arrangements for the European arrest warrant offer solid and reciprocal protection as far as possible for the rights of the accused?
Well, I can certainly assure my noble friend that the principle of proportionality is implemented in UK law through sections 212A and 21A of the Extradition Act of 2003, and it enshrines the principle of proportionality, which allows the UK to reject warrants where extradition wouldn't be proportionate to the alleged conduct, or where other less intrusive measures can be used to progress an investigation. So I think this is a much needed improvement of what the previous arrangements were.
Lord Hope of Craighead.
My Lords, what steps are being taken to identify and appoint those persons who are to serve as our representatives on the very important specialised committee to which Article 83 of the surrender title of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement refers?
I will have to get back to the noble lord on that, because I don't know where that's up to.
Lord Rosser.
The noble lady, the Minister, has said, in our Trade and Cooperation Agreement with the EU, it makes clear that extradition can be refused where a person's fundamental rights are at risk, or where, quote, they are likely to face long delays of pre-trial detention, close quote. What are the government going to do to ensure that delays, particularly in the current situation, and an over-reliance on detention, do not prevent extradition or the pursuit of justice?
Well, my lords, the pursuit of justice is absolutely paramount, but so are those issues of fundamental rights. There is no reason why the new system should not be as swift, but it is very important, as my noble friends have outlined, that actually some of those issues of fundamental rights are upheld.
Lord Campbell of Pittenweem.
My Lords, what are we to rely upon in these matters? The Panglossian statements of the Home Secretary, or the experience of the former National Security Advisor, the Noble Lord Ricketts, who has said publicly that our position now in these matters is one of damage limitation?
Well, I heard the noble Lord, Lord Ricketts, by chance actually on the radio, outlining some of his concerns, and I think there was, I do bow to his absolute expertise, but I think there has been some difference in our interpretation of what he outlined, particularly the difference between access to databases and sharing of information.
Lord Carlisle of Beirut.
My Lords, together with our departure from the Schengen Information System, there appears to be no replacement for the respective instruments on joint investigative teams, enforcement of fines, enforcement of non-custodial measures, and prisoner transfer. Please will the noble Baroness tell the House how these gaps will be filled?
Well, the noble lord will know that the EU maintained that it was legally impossible to offer SIS2 to a non-Schengen third country, and we've reverted to Interpol, which is a tried and tested mechanism of cooperation. Regarding the joint investigative teams, the UK will be able to continue running and participating in these with EU member states and third countries under a non-EU legal basis. In terms of prisoner transfers, these are a Ministry of Justice lead. The EU did not want to include arrangements on this in the agreement, but we will continue to transfer foreign offenders back to their home states using the existing Council of Europe Convention, as well as accepting the repatriation of any British citizen imprisoned by an EU member state who's eligible and wants to return to the UK to serve their sentence.
Baroness Wheatcroft.
Lords, on the day when the United States has executed a woman for the first time in 67 years, it's fitting we should be addressing the subject of extradition. Even without the death penalty, the plea bargaining system produces unjust results. So could the Noble Lord the Minister say whether she would feel confident about UK citizens being extradited for eventual trial in the US legal system?
Well, the Noble Lady will know that we are against the death penalty in all cases. I've talked about some of the fundamental rights that may or may not be included in it, but we are against the death penalty. And we, in terms of member state, I mean, she's talking about the EU. But it's important that people are brought to justice, but it's also important that their fundamental rights are upheld.
My Lords, all supplementary questions have been asked in this